11 planes, 11 bombs, the assassination of the Pope, and a plane flown directly into the headquarters of the CIA. This is the story and plan of what is known as Project Bajinka. It all begins with one man, Osama bin Laden, who spearheaded the financing of the plan, alongside his brother-in-law, Jamal Khalifa. This plan would take place in the Philippines, Manila. Wali Khan Amin Shah was the main financier. He would launder money through local businesses such as Wendy's or karaoke bars. This money would go directly to the leader of the Manila cell, Adam Salih or Ramzi Yusuf. Another company named Konsajaya also provided funding by laundering money to the cell. Konsajaya was a shell company. Present on the board of directors was Wali Khan Amin Shah. Upon arriving in Manila, Adam/Ramzi Yusuf began to associate with a number of other men who were establishing cells in the city. He also began producing bombs. It was at this point he left Manila. Upon returning, Islamist emissaries approached him with a plan. They wanted him to perform an attack on the sitting president of the US, Bill Clinton. This would happen while he was in Manila for a 5-day tour across broader Asia. He thought up a number of ways to achieve this, apparently planning to blow up Bill Clinton with a nuclear weapon while he was traveling with his motorcade, or targeting Air Force One with portable anti-air weaponry. Deciding this would be too difficult, he decided his target would be Pope John Paul II. Commencing in 1994, Ramzi Yusuf and his associate Khalid Sheikh Mohammed began to probe the security of airports / potential targets. Their strategy was simple. The two would sneak in 14 contact lens bottles filled with nitroglycerin, which was readily available in the Philippines at this time. Alongside this, he had a piece of metal taped to the bottom of his foot, which acted as a stand-in for a real detonator. Yusuf would book a flight between Hong Kong and Taiwan. Mohammed would book a flight between Manila and Seattle. To further confuse the airport security, they wore jewelry and studded clothing, telling the security agent they were traveling to meet women. They would be successful in this probing of airport security, flying between the two locations. After this, the two men would book the apartment Unit 603 in the Dona Yosefa apartment block. The two men picked their location due to its proximity to the Pope's diplomatic mission in the Philippines. Unit 603 looked directly down on the path the motorcade would take for a potential attack on the Pope. Locals were suspicious of the men inhabiting Unit 603, describing them as secretive, double-locking doors when out, and specifically requesting cleaners to ignore their room. They would often bring with them boxes of chemicals from Manila and surrounds. From within Unit 603, Project Bajinka was finalized into 3 distinct phases. The main task of the men in Manila was the assassination of a famous political figure, but now taking aim at the sitting Pope. The plan was to have a suicide bomber rush up to the Pope's motorcade. This act would divert attention and security resources from the next phase of the plan. In the midst of the chaos, Yusuf, alongside 4 accomplices, would board US-bound flights with layovers in Asia. They would detonate bombs over the Pacific Ocean, leading to potentially thousands of deaths. While all of this was occurring, operatives would hijack an airliner and fly it directly into the heart of the CIA, in Langley, Virginia. To test the efficacy of this plan, Yusuf would begin performing test runs of his explosive devices, known as microbombs. While Ramzi Yusuf was in Unit 603, he developed what would become the main weapon of the plot, microbombs. Housed within a watch, specifically a Casio digital watch. Each watch held a small amount of explosive compound and held a detonator. Ramzi Yusuf boarded the flight at 5:35 a.m. on the Manila to Cebu leg. He went into the lavatory and from his person assembled a single device. He then requested to move seats to get a better view. He moved to seat 26K, putting himself directly over the plane's pressurized center fuel tank. He placed the device in a life jacket and set a timer for 4 hours. Ramzi got off the plane at Cebu at 6:50 a.m. and exactly 4 hours after he placed the device, but thankfully, due to a misunderstanding from Ramzi on the seating configuration of the plane, the intended effect of the device, puncturing the center fuel tank, was not achieved. When the device detonated, it blew a hole directly into the cargo hold, and the only fatality of the incident was caused. Haruki Ikegami, an industrial sewing machine manufacturer who occupied seat 26K. He was sucked into the cargo hold and had the lower portion of his body severed. Alongside this, the hydraulic controls of the right aileron and steering were immediately severed. Captain Eduardo Reyes, First Officer Jamie Herrera, and Flight Engineer Dexter Comandador wrestled with the aircraft, but managed to regain control. With impeded input on the flight's control surfaces, they were forced to use the operational condition of asymmetric thrust, in which power is diverted between the engines at different levels, allowing for changes in direction, with damaged or inoperable control surfaces. Reyes placed a mayday call and requested landing at Naha Airport, Okinawa. They would go on to land safely, and while still tragic, only one life was lost, in the possibility of hundreds. The test performed on Flight 434, while unsuccessful, proved to the team that the plan was more than viable, and they began to prepare for the final day, working within Unit 603 to produce more explosives, but on the evening of January 6, fate would intervene. One of the men involved with the plan, Abdul Hakim Murad, was working in the kitchen mixing chemicals. The fire broke out in the apartment, quickly filling with smoke. The men would flee outside, leaving behind all the evidence. And shortly after, the authorities were contacted for the fire. The men remained at the apartment, trying to keep the authorities out. Hearing of this, Major Francisco Bautista and Ada D. Farascal decided to investigate the apartment. The men were gone by the time police arrived. Seeing the contents of the apartment, the police realized what may have been happening. The phone rang, and fearing that the room was a trap, they fled. After what the officers saw, they pursued a search warrant. Asking 11 judges, they received one. On the early morning of January 7th, the 2 officers would return to the residence to execute the warrant, finally revealing the secret of Unit 603. and within they would find disguises, rosaries, travel guides, gallons of hazardous industrial chemicals, precursor materials, and a plethora of bomb-making materials and instruments, alongside actual bombs, 2 pipe bombs. Most conclusively was in Arabic, a manual on how to build a bomb. Alongside this was the laptop. Associates, photographs, and a complete mapping of the financial network that allowed this plot to be funded. And with this, the police had all they needed. A mysterious man who referred to himself as Saeed was spotted on his way into the Don Yosefa apartment complex. He ran from police but tripped over. In the struggle, the arresting officer lost his handcuffs and had to improvise, using the draw cord from another's coat to apprehend him. After his arrest, the unidentified man would call Yusuf's number and warn him that the plot had been discovered. Police would later discover the identity of this man, being Abdul Hakim Murad, the man who had started the fire in the apartment complex. Murad was kept in custody, but then transferred to the headquarters of the Philippine police, Camp Crame, for the next 67 days. He would be tortured, barely surviving. He would eventually reveal the details of the plan after a Philippine police officer posed as a Mossad spy and convinced Abdul that he was being sent to Israel. His confession would ultimately convict Yusuf. Wali Khan Amin Shah, the financier, was arrested on January 11, after Yusuf, the main suspect, had contacted a pager belonging to Shah's girlfriend. This, alongside the evidence found on the laptop connecting him to the cell financially, would lead to his arrest. He would escape custody 77 hours later. He would eventually be arrested in Malaysia after being fingerprinted, and then he was extradited to the United States. Yusuf and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, being the main perpetrators of the plot, fled immediately to Pakistan. Yusuf, being the owner of the laptop and leader of the cell, was the subject of an intense manhunt, but for whatever reason, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed saw less scrutiny and remained on the run. Yusuf would go on to be arrested in Pakistan, at the Sukasa guest house in Islamabad, being extradited to the US. All in all, for the conspiracy of the Bajinga plot, all 3 men would receive life sentences. Yusuf, alongside his life sentence, received 240 years for the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. The ideas from Unit 603 survived the apartment fire. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed evaded capture and brought the concept of suicide hijackings directly to Osama bin Laden. What began in Unit 603 as a draft on a Toshiba laptop ultimately evolved into the blueprint for the tragedy of September 11th.